Welcome to another episode of Hardware Lens. In today's video we are going to be delidding our i9-10900K CPU and then installing the direct die kit from Rocket Cool. I think the i9-10900K is a great candidate for direct die cooling. It's just such a hot running CPU. It's so dense. You've got 10 cores packed into that small space using the old power-hungry 14 nanometer technology. That chip can pull 200 amps of current. So just keeping that die cool when it's got 200 amps of current running through it is just an enormous task. And I think this CPU will really benefit from direct die cooling. It's just a lot less. Anything we can do to increase heat transfer off of that die as quickly as possible when it's pulling that insane amount of current, I think is going to be a big help. In this test, I think it only pulls about 150 amps, but even that's it's, as you'll see, it's just the temps are just ridiculous, even without AVX at that amount of current. And so I think it'll be a pretty good result. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we have our i9-10900K here and the two halves of our die separator. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drop the CPU in the first half and make sure we line up the triangles. And this didn't come with instructions, but the instructions are available on the website. And it says to back out this screw until this part here is flush with the edge. So that's what we did. And hold this with your hand, keep it from moving back, and we're going to drop it on the CPU second half, and we'll go ahead and thread these screws in. Kit comes with the correct size Allen wrench, so we'll use that. Try and screw them down as evenly as possible. Okay. I don't think we want to make it too tight. We want the, well, maybe we do. Snug it up pretty good here. Not too much, but enough. Okay. And then what you're supposed to do next is take this big Allen wrench here and turn the screw. You're gonna start to feel some resistance, and then it's gonna make a pop, and that's when you know you're done. And apparently it takes quite a bit of force, so we'll see. Okay, you can see our IHS moving a little bit. Pretty nerve-wracking applying this much force to your expensive CPU. Quite a bit of force. Pop yet. Okay, there it goes. I felt it. So we'll go ahead and loosen this and pray that everything is okay. I'll tighten it evenly. take a look. Okay, so it's not quite off yet. So I'm going to put it back together, and it looks like it's still stuck on by the silicone around the edges. The IHS on these has silicone on the edges of it to seal it. So we're going to give it a little bit more movement to unseat it. But everything looks okay so far. It looks like we didn't break anything yet. Oops. Okay, let's go a little bit more. Alright. So it's still moving. Okay, there's the pop. That's more of a pop. I felt it before, but I didn't hear the pop. So now we heard a pop. I think that's going to be good enough. Okay. Alright. Let's see what we've got. Moment of truth. Okay. Well, the CPU die is still attached to the PCB. Thank God. Doesn't look like there's any damage to anything. Put this, set this back here for a moment. The solder's pretty thin. You can see I'm able to move it in here with my fingernail. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but it's pretty thin solder. Alright, so the next step is going to be to remove this solder, and there's a couple ways to do it. We have to get the die as clean as possible. You can use a razor blade and scrape it off, but I'm going to try and use the included Quicksilver, and as you can see, it says here, it says not liquid metal, for solder TIM removal only. So we're going to try that and see how that works. Hopefully we won't have to take a razor blade to the die. I'm a little nervous about doing that. Okay, so before we start actually removing the solder, instructions say to apply some masking tape. Mask off the rest of the PCB here, so we don't get any of the chemicals on anything else. So I'll do that. I don't know for sure, but I would assume that a lot of this that we're using, I think the metal polish here and the Quicksilver probably is conductive. So it's definitely a good idea to mask everything off. There are some electrical traces here, and we wouldn't want to short any of those connections. Okay. Alright, so the first thing we'll do next is apply some Quicksilver. Oop, came out fast there. Okay. I want to use it all up. And we'll use the included swab here to kind of spread it. It says to spread it and agitate it. It should mix with the solder and start to dissolve some of it. Start to see it doing its job here as we mix it. It's changing color a little bit. And that's some of the tin and indium being picked up from the die. So we'll continue agitating it here. You can feel it getting a little smoother as we remove more of that solder and dissolve more of that solder into our liquid metal solution here. And I don't mean liquid metal the product, I mean liquid metal as in metal in the liquid state, which is what we have. Okay, so that feels pretty good. Let's see how it looks. I stole some nail polish remover from my wife, and we'll take some of that on a cotton swab, and that's what they say to use to remove it. See how it looks. Just get it away from that CPU. Alright, so did a pretty good job, but we still have some shiny spots that aren't quite coming off. So we're gonna take some more of the Quicksilver. Try to not use too much this time. They only give you a little bit. Not much left. I'm almost out. Okay, so we'll spread some of that around again. I used a little too much in the beginning. Try not to do that. You only get a little bit, enough for one use. Okay, it looks like we're see some nice pretty shiny spots, or a lack of shiny spots rather. I think that means we've got most of it. Take the other end of our swab. Yep, still a little bit more. Okay, so we can get any more of this out. Well, we can't, so I'm gonna pull back the syringe. Don't tell me it doesn't come out. Here, I can squeeze just a tad out of there. Trying my best not to block the camera. Want to get as much of this off as you can. We want a nice smooth surface for our water block to sit on. Okay, so now we've got a nice bare die. It's not shiny yet because we haven't polished it, but all of the solder has been removed. So now we're gonna use the Flitz polish here that's included. And what we do is we just apply a little bit to the die, and then we polish it with our fingers and a paper towel. And we're going to do that. Hopefully we'll get a nice mirror finish out of it. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied with that. It's clean, pretty clean. Okay, so I'm going to try using this little Spudger tool from my iFixit repair kit. Here's the tool. It's actually working pretty good here for removing that silicone. I don't want to remove silicone. Definitely not. Just silicone. Alright, I think that's good enough. Okay, well that is the end of our video here. That is how to delid your 10th gen Intel CPU. Just be aware, if you're thinking of doing this, it is a risky thing to do. You can potentially destroy your CPU. Although it worked pretty good here with this kit, everything worked exactly as the instructions said. It removed the IHS nicely without any problem. I was a little apprehensive of doing this, especially with a soldered IHS, but as you can see, everything works good, and I can tell you that when we installed this CPU in the system, everything works great. There's no problems at all with it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more. The next video we're going to put our direct die kit on the CPU, and we'll run it, we'll benchmark it, or run Prime 95 with it anyway, and compare the results with the IHS on and with the direct die kit. Thanks for watching.